yugas in total: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kaliyug. And I have heard people talk about the yugas multiple times, and the most frequent thing I hear is that this is the Kaliyug going on, after this the Satya Yuga will come. But right now we are so doomed to be born in Satya Yuga because this is filled with misery, pain, trauma and all the darkest things in the time. This is the darkest of the timeline. So we are doomed to be born here, and I hear people say this a lot, and this makes me really mad. I used to think that why is it so? Why is it like we are doomed to be born here? Until I searched about this a lot, I read about this a lot, and then I realized that no. The yugas are not about the outer timeline but about the inner timeline. It is about what's going on inside and not outside. Now this is divided into 4 parts. The very first one is what is believed these yugas are. So what is believed is that the very first yuga is the Satya Yuga, in which it is the golden age. It is where people only believe and lie in the truth. They live in the truth. There is no place for lying. Then comes the Treta Yuga, where there is a little pinch of lying. This is the age of Rama, the silver age, where there is a pinch of lying, pinch of selfishness, but not at all compared to what is in Kaliyug. And then comes the Dwapar Yuga, where it is split, it's partial. Half of it is truth, half of it is only misery and darkness and pain and selfishness. And then what comes is the Kaliyug, which is filled with nothing but utter misery, darkness and all the pain and selfishness and trauma and everything. It is the darkest of times. This is called the Iron Age. And now the second part is proof that all yugas are within you. So now Satya Yuga is told to be the timeline of only truth. But there were people in Satya Yuga who didn't believe in truth at all, who held the comfort of lies and pain and selfishness. The examples are Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. They existed in Satya Yuga but lived in the Kaliyug. And then people also say that Kali Yuga is the darkest of times, but there are so many people I know and see who might exist in Kali Yuga but they live in Satya Yuga. They are always telling the truth, they live in peace. And a very important information is that you can only find these kind of people when you become these kind of people. This is a very important piece of information, that the world is your mirror. When I was okay with tolerating the pain, when I was okay with tolerating the selfishness and the darkness around me, that is when I never found people like that. That is when I started believing I am like that. But when I changed the mirror, when I changed the person in the mirror, that is when I started finding people like that. So you cannot blame that I don't find people like that, so I am not like this. There are multiple people around you, but you cannot see them at all until you become them. You don't have to change yourself, you don't have to change who you are, you be that. But you just have to change the traits that pull you down. You just have to exist in the Kaliyug but live in Satya Yuga. Only then you can find people like that. Anyways, coming back. So it was never about the outer world, it was always about the inner world. We interpreted it wrong. Maybe there were timelines like this in the outer world as well, but what they were intended to say, all along was about the timeline within. We have interpreted it wrong for so long. You can be in Kaliyug and yet live in Satya Yuga. You can be in Satya Yuga and yet live in Kaliyug. And this gives rise to the third part, which is yugas as inner state. Now the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga aren't about history, they are about consciousness. Satya Yuga is when you live in only the truth, when you believe in the truth, when your mind is calm and when you don't take and accept the comfort of the illusion, of the lie, the maya. You don't accept the comfort of that. That is when you are in the Satya Yuga. Then comes Treta. And Dwapar Yuga is when you are split. You accept the comfort of the maya, of the illusion, of the lie, and half of the time you don't accept it. And Kali Yuga is of course when your mind is totally corrupt, when you are not at all thinking about the good or the truth, anything, you are just loving the comfort of maya and you are okay with being trapped in it. That is when you are living in the Kali Yuga, when you are being in the Kali Yuga. And all these states exist within you all the time. Sometimes probably you wake up in the morning with a calm mind, sometimes you wake up in the Satya Yuga. By the noon, it's probably Treta. By the evening, it's Dwapar, and by the night, it becomes Kaliyug. Or maybe it's the opposite. So it can change. But the best fact and the best part is that you can always bounce back. You can always bounce back from whichever state you are. If you are in Kali Yuga, if you are living in Kali Yuga, you can pull yourself back into Satya Yuga, Treta or Dwapar Yuga. You can pull yourself out of it. This is the best part. No matter at which point of this yuga you are at. If you are at the end of Kali Yuga, extremely corrupt, extremely selfish, extremely ill-thoughted mind, where you have extreme ego, extreme greed. Even if you are at that very end, you can still pull yourself back into Satya Yuga, and this is the best part. And now this gives rise to the fourth and the last part, which is the change. Just this thought that you can change any time back you just want, and that the yugas are actually within you. Just this thought can change everything, because you stop feeling like victims and relying on the ages. You stop relying on the timelines and stop feeling like victims, most importantly. But the second part is that when you know that this does not depend on something else, but you feel that sense of responsibility and that sense of knowing that you have to work on it to be that, creates procrastination, creates fear that, oh my god, I have to work so hard to do that, or I have to work hard to pull myself back. Now that you know this happens. But when we think that we are in control of an entire timeline, we are in control of a timeline and we can pull any timeline back, and we can pull ourselves back into any timeline we want, it becomes easier. It becomes easier when you think it that way. So I hope this video was somewhat helpful for all of you. Do watch the shorter versions of these videos in my Instagram account. Bye bye, all the best. Hope to meet you very soon.